What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we are giving you a state of the market and stock picks for March 8th, 2022. Now, state of the market, I just want to dive right into what is going on currently right now. There is a lot of uncertainty, especially with what has happened with Russia and Ukraine. Things escalated very quickly. Being said, there are a lot of sanctions that are put on Russia, and we have to understand that these sanctions are going to affect a lot of different things down the road very dramatically. And I think a lot of times, we think specific events impact the market quickly. Yes, they may have an initial impact, but we will start seeing those, right? It will spread itself further down, essentially, the timeline than currently right now. So being said, something I've been talking about in the weekly update was that, the next couple of earnings are going to be impacted dramatically. And we're going to see that, and that's going to bring the market down possibly even more. But short term, we have to try to keep this in a short-term window as well. Yes, we still have the Fed next week. I think at this point, the Fed obviously have nothing more than to take some sort of action next week. Even given the world situation, there's still a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of things that could happen very quickly, and we're going to have to try to figure out or the market's going to have to figure out where to go from that point. And the Fed, are ready to start becoming very hawkish very quickly. So that is something that keeps being said by the Fed. And then you have Russia and Ukraine, that again is a wild card. You don't know what's going to happen. Yes, there's been a lot more talks lately, but then Russia turns around and starts essentially attacking nuclear plants. So we have to, that whole situation itself is very unstable. And again, it's causing this butterfly effect into everything else. Now, again, the longer this situation progresses down the road, we have to understand that this is going to dramatically start impacting things even worse. In a lot of these companies that, like even Netflix has been pulling out to Russia. McDonald's, I believe, is pulling out of Russia as well. So all these companies, right, what portion of their revenue is coming from Russia? And that is going to be reflected in upcoming earnings. And a lot of these numbers, you could say they have been inflated. Right, a lot of stuff was essentially betting on the future. And Tesla could be a huge candidate for that. That they are essentially priced in for the future. But being said, all it could take is a ceasefire, and things can jump. And now I'm saying the market can be very volatile. It will continue to be very volatile, but the market, I think, will jump. Will it completely reverse? I think we're going to be in for an interesting time span going forward. Again, unforeseen, this whole Russia-Ukraine thing coming into this year. And things have shifted dramatically. Even the rate raises, I didn't think they were going to be a big deal. Yes, there would have been some volatility. We've had the correction. I expected that. But now we have a new element to everything that's going on, and it's very unpredictable. And so, again, because any new piece of news can change the market very quickly. And so that being said, and moving forward, the market, again, had no real strong news today. The market continued to sell off today. Something I've been talking about was essentially that 4,100 mark. And I thought we would come down and revisit here. So the big question is tomorrow, can the market hold essentially this 41.55 mark tomorrow? We are floating again around that 15%. If we are in sort of a wedge here, so maybe we actually make it all the way down to 4,100 and touch that bottom of the wedge. Strong possibility. You know, we really tried hard to break this, and we actually broke it, but got sunk back down into it because of the Russia news. But again, this is coming back down quickly. So, and again, with a escalation of certain events with Russia, and then you got the turnaround peace talks, and so the market is just back and forth. The market doesn't know what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. But technical wise, I'm still looking at the 4,100 mark. I want to see if this holds tomorrow. Again, if you're looking at the solid bar on the daily, right, you kind of want to hold that, again, 4,150 mark. It's not guaranteed to happen. Again, you could revisit that 4,100. We can start revisiting that, making a lower low here, which I'm thinking is very much possible going into this week. Again, we got the Fed next week. We don't have any real positive news to push us back up. So unless there's a ceasefire overnight or something, this thing will not push back up. It could be a higher low. Again, really just depends on how we open tomorrow. If we go attempt to try to push back up and break through, could be a possibility. We'll see if this is a strong base. Again, overnight session is going to really matter. Tomorrow is really going to matter technical wise, where we stand and where we finish the day. But again, going forward, it's not looking hot. But I'm saying that I don't think we're selling off, but we're not doing it in some big fashion. Yes, people are concerned about what's going on in the world, but a lot of people are just liquidating because the market just isn't doing anything. The market is unstable at the moment, so people would rather probably just sit on cash than sit and play in this choppy market with the uncertainty, as much uncertainty as the Russia-Ukraine incident or war that is currently going on. So being said, tomorrow will be interesting. We have to watch those key points. Again, I think we'll come back and retest that 4,300 and try to break that. But now we have something I've talked about. We've had a lot of resistance to the upside, but I think a good ceasefire news would probably help us butter through a lot of this resistance that is there now. But we have to see. Bitcoin's still holding. Like I said, 3,200 is what I'm really watching on that. 32,000, excuse me, is what I'm really watching on this. Again, it's been consolidating nicely. As long as there's no big dramatic news, again, it has something really being left field. I don't see the market just continuing to sell off. The market, I think, will play this game where it gets frustrated. You get good news, you get a pop, and then there'll be some bad news, and it continues to sell off. And so I just think there'll just be this. I think we'll continue to play this wide range of volatility here for a while, especially if that can with Russia and Ukraine keeps getting kicked down the road. Again, hopefully that is alleviated sooner than later. Again, we also have to also remember, if they do have a ceasefire, that doesn't mean these companies are going to recoup right away. These companies are going to move right back in to open it up back to Russia. That's just not going to happen right away. It's going to take time. Everything is going to take time. There's quick actions, right? It's for them to essentially redo what they have done with pulling out is going to take them a much longer time to establish that connection again. So with Tesla, really what watching here, this is something I want to keep reiterating, and I have been iterating to this point, is you really have to stay with something that has solid fundamentals during this time. There's been a lot of stocks that have been pumped. A lot of mid cap, small caps have just been pumped unbelievably over the past 2 years. We have to realize that a lot of their CEOs aren't the greatest either. And a lot of these stocks shouldn't be where they were a year ago. This is why we're seeing these huge price gouges at 70%, 80%, right? Is because of this, because we are having the market is being normalized, right? You know, instead of riding off a hopium, right, the market is riding off to realistic expectations, more so now. So being said, Tesla is going to be one of your industry leaders, right? It's not just a car company. The energy side of it is playing huge right now, and maybe a big game changer for Tesla moving forward to help them pull out of what's currently going on. Again, with all the restrictions and everything that are going on, all the sanctions, all right, everybody gets affected by this. It's not just Russia. Everybody gets affected by this. And so we again have to see how it's going to play out. Again, I think next earnings is going to hurt. I can already kind of foresee that happening. So Q1 earnings is definitely going to be painful. Again, at that point, it's really going to be up to the industry leaders and determine who is going to be standing through all this. We just got out of a pandemic, and now we're going into a war and sanctions, and everybody's going to get affected. And banks just in themselves have been taking a massive beating. So you want top tier companies when you're looking at these companies. And again, Tesla being one of them. And for tomorrow, I really want to watch that 740 mark, ultimately that 700 mark. We got a nice bounce at the 700 mark. But again, if we break that and we break that 700, we can sink all the way down to 485. Is that possible? If Tesla sinks to 485, the market in general is going to take a bigger hit. And so just be mindful of that. If our leaders cannot hold us, we are going to be in trouble. UPST is another big one I really like. I'm watching that $100 mark, but we have to, again, see how the market's going to react. I think this is, if we're on recovery, this one has done very well on earnings. But again, earnings themselves just aren't going to, especially moving forward, looking forward. If we do, inflation continues to run everything else, people are going to be looking for loans. Visa and MasterCard pulled out of Russia, so that's something else. It's another company that's going to get hit bad from that. So these are all things to keep in mind in the next coming earnings and realize what is going on. So, and then, but one I do want to watch, I want to keep an eye on as far as banks and stuff. That's probably the closest one I'm kind of looking at there. Chips are getting affected by sanctions really bad, and they're continuing to sell. If NVIDIA can break 207, you have that psychological 200. But then you got a pretty big jump down to 188, so it's something you need to watch. AMD, it just broke the wedge here, but it has a strong support at the $100 psychological level. I can actually see us kind of pumping back up tomorrow, retesting some of these breaks, and then possibly selling off more. Again, you have the FOMC meeting next week, something to keep an account for. I think people just know there's more bad news coming, even if it's just a 25 basis point move. Something I talked about, which would have been bullish, but considering the current situation with Russia and Ukraine, things are changing. The dynamic of everything is changing. And so this is what we have to adjust to. And this will continuously affect Amazon and Shop. Any kind of e-commerce is going to get hit bad with sanctions. So these breaks at the 27.48 mark could be a huge break. Shop will continue to sell, I'm sure, because of the fact of these sanctions. Right, gas prices are going to kill moving stuff around, exporting, importing, all that stuff. All those fees are going to add up dramatically, and so these companies are going to take massive hits moving forward. But as far as tomorrow, I don't really have a lot of big picks. LMT, you could get a nice play tomorrow off this. Looks like we are wedging here. We want to see if we can get a nice break off of this tomorrow morning. Again, it might get a nice break from 467 to about 480. But you got these nice little spans, trying to keep with stuff that is pumping at this point. Wheat, maybe a nice short tomorrow if it can't break essentially that 1275 mark. If it hesitates there and fails, it could sell back off again, but it is making a higher low, so you need to be careful of that. But if it does get rejected again, this thing could come down as well. Petroleum, same thing, making a higher low. If it can't break the 63.50 mark tomorrow, It could get a second attempt up here. I think it will get rejected pretty hard. If it gets rejected, it's definitely going to sell even further. So these are just a couple of things. Again, this is not financial advice. My biggest thing from this video, I know I don't have a lot of stock picks, but you just really have to be mindful of what's going on and really focus fire on really great companies and nothing else as of right now until things change. Until we get a ceasefire, then we'll probably get a big move from that point, but still realize this is not done. Still lies that we'll still see a lot of big ups and downs in the market coming forward. So if you made it this far, I appreciate you. Go ahead and smash that like button. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.